Hey everybody, it's Christian Buckley doing another MVP Buzz Chat, and I'm talking today with Karinne or Rin. Or I know you've got a few other the names out there, but I know her as Karinne. So welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, and I'm super excited to be here and to be a baby MVP.
It's Karinne's one of those people too that's like I've known you for a couple years, but we've been talking about this for quite some time, and it's one of those new MVPs about freaking time. Like, well, but this is kind of that. Well, let me first ask my first question that I started. I always start by saying, "Who are you? Where are you? And what do you do?" And then we'll get into it.
Who am I? That is a deep question to start off with.
Who are
But
we? Any of us?
I
Yeah.
would just start with my name is Karinne. I do also go by Rin. My tag is Rin Bites. I guess who I am is I'm a person that loves community, loves technology. I've been in technology as long as I knew it was a thing. I'm part of that maybe time frame that was pre real technology being in the home to then having technology later, and just kind of felt a passion. I'm here in Ohio, specifically, or more specifically, Columbus, Ohio. It's been very good for me. I love it. And you'll have to remind me what that last question
And
was.
then what do you do?
What do? I do technical storytelling. I work for Veeam Software, but I also do a lot out in the community, participate in events. I also love doing like women in technology groups and mentoring, and I side teach. So I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, but I also do CompTIA certifications. I think I kind of fall in your realm, Chris, that if I don't feel like I have enough to do, I keep doing more things.
Yeah, more stuff. Stuff will fall out. It'll make sense. It'll get
Yeah.
organized.
On a personal level, I do things like rock climbing and games and D&D with friends.
Very cool. And I know, so, and I remember too, where it was kind of funny. Like, I think I had seen you at an event or two, but I formally reached out to partner with Veeam and was said, "Hey, you got to talk with Karinne." And then I found out it's like, "Hey, you know all these people that I know and some of my closest friends out in the space." And it just was like, how did we not formally meet already kind of things? And we probably
Absolutely.
even talked at a conference in the past though. So yeah, Karinne's like the go-to person for Veeam for me if there's any questions, and in that space to go and talk to. But that's awesome. No, it's a so it's great to see you out here. I mean, again, I put Karinne in the category of for folks watching that like, why are you not already an MVP? Because you're already doing the stuff. You're at the events. You're speaking. You're creating, you're connecting with people, doing stuff out in the community. You're all over the place. And it's one of those benefits of having a company that's supportive of the community activities as well, and understands having people that are plugged in and all over the place. But yeah, what was your, maybe you could describe your journey. What was that path like for you? When did you start thinking about and trying to become an MVP, and what was that process like?
So I'm gonna say about 6 years. I moved positions at my company because I've been with Veeam for about 8 years, and I was actually under Rick Vanover, which, if you didn't already know, was an MVP. So I watched what he did, and he kind of talked me through some of the things, and then he did some co-presenting with me in the community, and I'm like, oh, I can do this. I don't want to write blogs like he does, but then I got more and more information being like, oh, you can do all these other things. Like, I like running events. I like building community. I like getting involved in WIT stuff. And then I noticed I have kind of my own path. Then we hit the weird COVID period, of course. The MVP program evolves. Teams was in, Teams is out of this. And then I had to pick what I wanted to be when I grow up. And then I finally got there where I did a solid year's worth of stuff. And when people started saying, hey, I thought you were already an MVP, I'm like, maybe it's time. How do you feel about putting me in for submission?
Yeah, that's I think that's generally the process there. But I know that you still hear about once in a while somebody whose name gets submitted and they're even kind of unaware. So it really just a surprise. That doesn't really happen. Usually there's just a lot of discussions and prep for that. I always like to say too that because I'm proud of this numbers, like so now we've had of the cohort that Sharon Weaver and I started, where we advise people that are interested in becoming MVPs, and you've been part of that. Although, I mean, you've been around MVPs and doing this stuff for a few years, but we had you and Galen at the same time, so that's 11 now that have graduated our little cohort there. So that's always very exciting too, to see people that have been active members within that. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
So
yeah, I think it was good to be able to get onto that group, because really beneficial is some of the product managers and the community managers from Microsoft join that meeting, and you don't just get the community side, you get the inside scoop. So I'd say if you're interested, definitely check that out. I've been promoting it out to anyone that comes and asks, like, hey, how do I become one? I'm like, here's a group for you.
Check out this group. Yep.
Yeah.
Recommend as well. Reach out to me. Anybody, you can reach out to Karinne. She'll point you in that direction. Sharon Weaver, myself, I'll get happy to do that. I do want to jump in. So talking about technology. So like what are your primary focus areas? So as an M365 MVP like myself, it's a pretty big bucket. There's a lot of products in there. And I know that they make you pick one or two as your key focus areas, but really kind of like, what are your mainstay products or services?
So in my case, as far as I know, I just have a Microsoft 365 tag. I do a kind of a spread across the board. I did a lot in Microsoft Teams. I love Teams, so I use Power Platform in Teams. I do administrative configuration of Teams, security of Teams, end user Teams, adoption in Teams. But I also do some things over in the Purview, Entra, and Defender portals, because a lot of those security features matter all the way around in these days. A little bit more on the adoption side as generic adoption.
So I fall into pretty much the same category. I mean, literally the same category. But when I go and if you look at my work, it's across Microsoft 365. One of the things that we always talk about in the cohort, when people come and say, well, what do I need to do? We keep using this phrase, pick a lane. Like, you have to have direction there. So did you feel like you had to go write about a singular product, or is your input, your contributions been always varied across Microsoft 365?
So way back, I guess this would have been 2019, I had started to do across the platform, and I would say about 50% of my work was in Microsoft Teams, and the other one was like security and Azure and all these other things. I did kind of start to expand to more rather than deduplicate down, but what I was able to do is really tie most of what I do back into the same core platform. And yes, I have the baby is joining us.
It happens. I know. Yeah.
And I would say almost everything that you get into has a tie into one of the other products. They're all kind of stitched together. So if you go for, like I did, Microsoft Teams, that's hundreds and thousands of applications and use cases just there.
Yeah.
That's not just Teams.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's always the difficult part for people to understand, is that, I mean, ultimately, like, the product teams have to make a decision, and you have to do, like, how are you going to stand out? And so there are people that are like security focused, and so that's broader across that. But it's like, I started as a SharePoint MVP when I got in, like, there was that direct focus, and there was a lot to talk about and do around SharePoint. And so now I've got both SharePoint and Teams, and I do stuff around Copilot. Again, it's broader. It's Microsoft 365. Like, I'm not getting into as much into Power Platform, rarely. It's just not my world, that side of things. But you can talk about whatever you want, but you still need to have that some kind of focus. There has to be a rhythm, a pattern to those things.
Yeah, and I would say the uniqueness doesn't necessarily even have to be the platform, but the delivery. One of the things that I do outside of just like the Microsoft community is I go to a lot of local and education focused events. Like Brainstorm is a big one that I commit to, and it's all out of pocket that I go, and they don't pay at any of those kinds of events because it's education. They just are looking for anyone to volunteer, like teachers and admins from those departments to come in. And I think that was a factor in my contribution.
Yeah. No, that is huge. When you look at that stuff, it's like organizing. Like I sit on the board of my local user group. We do our annual event. We do other things like organizing, getting involved in helping build community. Has a lot of weight. It has more weight than other things. So you can do fewer of those things, and people understand how much work is involved with those things. But it's the same with volunteering and participating in other community stuff. Is there any, like, especially with Ignite this last fall, we had the big SharePoint event where they talked about all the design features, all the new stuff coming out. Is there anything that's really just over the last 4 or 5 months that's really jumped out to you that you're excited about from the announcements?
Oh, wow. Honestly, I work a lot within my company trying to figure out what can and can't be supported within the platform. And really, the biggest development in the EWS service inside of the Microsoft Graph is probably what I'm most excited about. It's not the newest, or it's not the shiniest thing out there, but it leads to so many other things because once that EWS service is updated, it's going to be more secure. It's going to be able to have more features inside the Power Platform, not just in the apps, but in the automations that you can do and the automations that you can have inside your email. And I don't know about you, but I get more emails than I have the capability of reading most days. Yeah. And that helps a lot.
I wear those unread, those 2,600 unread emails in my inbox as a badge of honor. About that though, having worked primarily with ISVs through my Microsoft ecosystem career, it's sometimes, we didn't have the luxury of going and chasing every brand new feature and be out there exploring what those new things can do. So much of my content has been, and I think still is, grounded in like real world scenarios, integrations with other third-party systems, where my customers are. I would go and focus my content around that area. But this again is so it may seem like you're behind on the adoption curve on some of the newer stuff. I'm not saying you, I'm saying the royal you, we, but it's, it's not a race to see who can write about and talk about the new thing the fastest, get the thing out there. Maybe SEO likes some of that, but no, it's about real world stories and experiences and sharing your perspective. And so there's a lot to be done still around that. So you go back the last 2 years of content, I'm sure there's tons that you can still be out there exploring and figuring out how does it connect with your customers. Working for one of the largest ISVs out there, one of the largest Microsoft partners.
Yeah, so I actually have a presentation that I think is going on 6 years old now, and it's a security presentation that I did in the Microsoft platform, and it was just off of an idea I had. And once I had the idea, I went through and started looking at Microsoft security like best practices. Mm-hmm. Then I went ahead and took, I think it was the SE 300. And once I took that, I started to build out what are some of these I can take, easily teach, and incorporate. And then I've just been adding to that as the platform has been changing over the last 5 years. And it's about 45% new content every year as it comes out. And it evolves from that with the same core, like better best practices.
Isn't it funny? It's like Microsoft loves that people in the community take their training, the certification programs that are out there, and then expands that into content. Like go and whether it's you make it available free or you're doing paid courses and things that are out there. I mean, all they see it benefits them in all those different ways. They get a lot of value out of there. And it takes your voice, your perspective into those training materials and personalizes that, and that's going to better resonate with some audiences. So yeah, that's great. What do you have coming up? Anything happening? This will go live here. Just so folks know, this is not live. We're pre-recording. So in I think less than a month. Oh yeah, hey. So yes, less than a month. So anything going on in Q2, Q3, like things that you're focused on, things that people should be paying attention to?
There's quite a few events that are coming out, and I'll be at many of those events coming up in a lot of the user groups. One of them I know for sure I'm going to try to is Nashville. Nashville is giving this whole new format where you do 15-minute lightning talks on stage to the entire audience all at once throughout the entire day. So it's a really new concept, and I want to see what that turns out to be. And of course, we got the EduCons and the Microsoft 365 conference coming up. I unfortunately will not see you at the Microsoft 365 conference. I got
That was going to be my next question. You're not doing Vegas?
No, I booked tickets already for a 4-day rock festival.
Okay. Well, priorities. Okay. You have the right priorities, but yes.
Yes. Work-life balance is my goal this year.
Yeah. Not to bash people that are from Las Vegas, but not a fan of Las Vegas personally. Yeah.
Makes me ill.
Yeah. It's nice when you can get out of the area. I've got friends that are, one city over and can go visit and stuff. But well, that is all great stuff. I always like to wrap up and ask for social connections, because I also suggest, like, don't be shy. If you have been following the work Karinne does, like, reach out and connect with her. But where are you most active in social? Don't say LinkedIn, because everybody says LinkedIn. So beyond that, where can people find you and connect with you? Where are you most active?
So one of my goals this year is to become more active on Substack, and that's going to be my focus for this year. Twitter, I lurk, but I don't do a whole lot there. LinkedIn, I do just about the same, and I want to make Substack, I think, my main and possibly the whole blue sky deal. We'll see how that fares this year.
Well, I've got your Substack on there. I'll make sure that all the links are in the blog post and out on YouTube. And of course, you also have, and I love it when people provide these, you've got your link tree with other stuff, so you can find Karinne in other places as well. So thanks so much. It's great seeing you, and I'll see you. I don't know when I'll see you next. Are you doing Denver?
Oh, VNext?
Yeah, are you doing that?
I don't know. We'll have to talk about that. I'll probably see you in Seattle if you're going to EduCon.
Yeah, TechCon, they rebranded. Remember? Yeah, so I'm there. I'm definitely in Seattle. I'm hoping to be in Atlanta as well. So
okay.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Bye.